Okay, so I will just recap what I said earlier before I hit the record button. So for homework assignment number 5, you should means that for 2020 student, you should look at the pre-recorded lecture number 10. The pre-recorded lecture number 10, let me just get rid of this.
Professor, sorry for interrupting you, but could you please send the link in the chat?
Sure. Hold on 1 second. Let me send the link to the chat again. So then we can start. Oh, I know what happened. I sent you privately only to Hezekiah. I forgot to send to everybody. Yeah, I thought I'm sending this to everybody. So this link is basically the resource folder for homework assignment number 5. And this is the link that's actually for the reference implementation for the fall 2020 version of homework assignment number 5. Okay, everybody see the link? Okay, so this especially the homework 5 folder is the one you should actually go there to see all the resources there with the test cases and things like that. Okay. Okay, fine. Right, so I have 2 announcements, which I hope recorded because I forgot to push the button. The first one is that you should really take a look at lecture number 10, which is a title, JSON C++ processing, which explain the motivation and the concept about why we're doing this, and also it gives you some example. In fact, it's not just an example, in fact, it's the case that's going to be tested against the correctness of your program. Okay, so this is number 1. I want you to take a look. Definitely, you should watch lecture number 10 if you haven't done so. The second thing is that I'd like to tell you that the fall 2020 homework assignment number 5 is different from the spring 2020 homework assignment number 5. The lecture, the concept part is actually applied. The concept part is the same, but in terms of the implementation approach, we actually enhance from the version we developed in the spring 2020. In spring 2020, we have dumbj, which is a function help us to transform a C++ object recursively to a JSON format. So that's the dumbj function, which you already implement most of the part for homework assignment number 4, part 3. And then over here, we need to think about the two-way street. If you see the lecture is actually two-way. So we are also wonder, why can we take a JSON? If I can convert C++ to JSON, then I should be able to take the JSON and then convert it to C++ as well. So in the spring 2020, that was the first time I worked out the assignment. At that time, we're actually writing a separate code, a separate function to do this translation. And that works, but it's kind of messy because we kind of put a lot of consideration on a single piece of function. Essentially what we did is we go through each element in the JSON, and then we decide, okay, at this time I need to create this C++ object, at this time I need to set this value. And I will show you the segment of that code. In fact, I will show you the source code for that piece. And that is a big piece of code. We have to do all the consideration, and it works basically to do the translation from JSON to C++. However, it's not as clean as what we want you to do, because if you have a function associated with every single class called dumbj, then why can't we actually associate a symmetric function with each class called jdump, which do the other direction? Then we can actually also do the recursive fashion, and then we can actually have a much cleaner and elegant architecture for this conversion. So that will be the difference. So I mean, if you look at only lecture number 10, I think it's fine. It actually only covered the concept. It didn't cover that big piece of code. But if you look at the Zoom link for some of the discussion I did in spring, a lot of them is actually based on that concept. I just want to alert you for that situation, okay? All right, so any question before I jump into the homework 5? So my plan today is homework 5 has 2 parts. Actually, I have a 3 part. The number 1 is called hw5 produce, is basically how do you do the conversion between JSON and C++, one JSON to one C++. The second part, I will cover that on Friday, is called hw5 merge, which means that you can take a 2 JSON and then you convert them separately into C++, but you merged inside C++, and then you can produce a JSON the other way back using DumbJ, which shows the result of the merge. You can think of, I would give you example, I'll give you example later that why this merge concept is so powerful when you want to handle this kind of JSON C++ processing. And the third part is just doing web report. I mean, by now, you should be able to handle web report without any trouble, okay? But the challenge is probably on the first 2 parts, okay? Any question before I jump into that? Okay. So we're going to do, I'm going to skip this part because this part is what you will see on the PowerPoint. Okay, so we're going to look at what I call, this is like a Facebook post or Twitter that you see this, that somebody posts something and then provide a link, and this is from one of the person at a certain time. And then there are people can respond to that and say, you know, what is the comments you leave there, and then after that, people can actually put some reaction to that. Okay, so this is a typical today in a lot of this kind of social media, including Facebook and others, that this is a really basic feature for us to be able to interact with each other in some way. Okay. All right, so this is kind of like a fake interface in front of us. But what is really the representation of this particular interface is, of course, using JSON. I'm going to show you an ugly picture. This is a JSON representing, let me actually just move these things here. Okay, this is a JSON that's actually representing exactly the post I just showed you. All right, so you can see that it's all key value pair. The first one is ID with 3, ID was only 2. This is the post ID was only 2. But remember, in homework assignment number 4, part 3, you have to deal with comment ID. Comment ID is this is a comment. You see that comment is ID has 1. This is the page ID, this is the post ID, and this is comment ID. Okay, so this is the way that a JSON representation about what we just did in that. And by the way, this file is called base input.json, and this is already there in the hold on a second, let me show here. This is already put in the hw5 folder. So if you join late, you should actually go to this folder, homework 5 folder. This is the link, and here you see this is a base input JSON. Okay, I'm sorry that it my browser immediately parse that JSON into a JSON editor, so I will be able to see this nice format with key value pair here. But if you look at the text file, let me actually just go over there. We directly go to the server folder, so we will be able to see the same thing. Okay, if you see that there's a bunch of file which is put here. One of them is base input JSON. And if you take a look at base input JSON, this is basically I show you on the slide. I mean, it looks like it basically just a long string with all the information. I mean, I just want to parse you visually first, and then of course you use your program to do that. So this part is the post ID, and this part is a from. Remember who actually wrote it, and this part is to, who is a receiver of this object. And then there is a message, and then the message actually contains some links. So I have some links over here, and then I have some action. The action means that you can comment, you can like, whatever you want to do. And let me see, yeah, this part is the action part. And then this part is the, okay, this action has multiple. Action has a comment, has a reaction, and all the way here that you have what we call created time. When was this post was created? And update time, when was the post last updated? And then the reaction, that's the part you actually didn't implement this part. This is the reaction to the original post, not the reaction to the comment. But what you actually did is this part, comments from here. Over here, you see that this is the comments. And inside the comments, you have, for each of the comment, you have a reaction. So this is, you actually did already do the dump J from here all the way to probably here, okay? You did actually this part. There are two comments that you handle, and each of the comment has two reaction. So essentially that's how you have done part of that. So that's why I want to introduce this to homework 4 part 3 first, so you can actually handle a smaller section of the JSON, and then gradually now you're going to handle the whole thing. Okay. All right. So this is the JSON that you're dealing with, and this part is the comment part I just mentioned. That so this is a one particular comment with a comment ID, the 3 segment, and then with from, who is actually issued the comment, avatar name and VSID, and then the message for that comment, created time, and then reaction, which is the one that's similar to what you did, exactly what you did for homework assignment number 4, part 3. Okay. All right. So so that's what we're going to do. So now I'm going to show you the reference implementation. Okay. So this is going to help you to let me see. Let me do this. I already put this somewhere locally. I'm going to use my local file. No, this is still. Okay, I'm going to ecs36b homework 5 reference. Okay, so if you untar the file, this is a file you're going to see. Oh, I should get rid of EE. Why is this? Ah. Okay, that's fine. I can left it there. There's probably some testing program I forgot to, the testing cases I forgot to remove. Okay, all right. So let's actually take a look at this file that that you just received. I mean, of course, you can just make. Let me see. Just do a make a clean, and then make. Okay, so it looks everything works fine. Okay, it looks everything works fine, but there is a one catch. I will ask you to think about this yourself. Is that I'm actually using B0. Some of you probably heard me make comments about why, as a C programmer who use facilities such as a B0 or main set, there are two functions that we use a lot as a C programmer. One is called B0, is a write 0 to byte string, which is a standard C library. And the other function is called main set. MEMSET. Memset is another function, is writing a byte string with a byte value. I mean, if I use memset, I would just say write 0 there, okay, \0. So B0 is essentially memset \0. That's the same thing. But as a C programmer, I mentioned, if you're using B0, you have to be careful that sometimes this is conflicting with the C++ way of handling virtual table, virtual function, as well as virtual inheritance. Actually, it's okay with multiple inheritance, which that was one of the purpose. I want you to work on homework assignment number 4, part 2. And if you look at the warning message, okay, it says destination of this B0 call is a pointer to dynamic class post. And it says the table pointer will be overwritten. So that's a warning telling you, are you sure you're doing something? Because in the class, I have something called virtual table pointer, which is going to pointing to other places. You're using B0, be careful, okay? So I'm actually not advise you as a C programmer to use B0 unless you know what you're doing. But this is the part I actually left in the code to just let you know that that's the trouble you're going to make if you're using B0. Okay, so this is a little bit connected to homework assignment number 4, part 2, which is important. Okay, other than this warning, this code compile, okay, and I'm going to show you the code. I mean, of course, this is a reference implementation, means that you can actually do everything from scratch. That's your choice, that's okay. But your code or your design must be able to handle all the field that's already presented in that JSON I show you, base input JSON. No, not this one, but this one. It should be able to handle every piece of information within this particular JSON, okay, representing a post. That's we need to deal with. So I already create all the .h file and also the I would say the CPP file with a placeholder for those information. So if you are not sure how to design everything from scratch yourself, you might follow the reference implementation will help you to get to the point very quickly. Okay, so let's take a look at the comment.h. So this part should be really similar to what you already have. Okay, the comment.h and has a profile ID, post ID, and the only difference is that I now have this tag. By the way, tag is actually very similar to reaction, but just sometimes people write comments or people write something, they like to tag something else, tag a person or tag an event or tag some kind of URL. So that's why I create a new challenge for you. It's called tag. And then you have this what we call dumpj. And in homework 4, part 3, I don't have jdump. I kind of commented out. I forgot whether I commented out or just deleted, but now you have another virtual function called jdump. So I assume you're already familiar with dumpj. But now I'm going to tell you what is the jdump. Jdump is essentially, dumpj is returning the JSON object pointer. And jdump is essentially you input a JSON object pointer. And the thing is that inside the jdump function is try to convert that information about JSON and fill in all the information in this class. And if everything is successful, then you will return a Boolean return result called success or true. If a false means that the jdump failed. If the true, that means the jdump is okay. So okay, this is one of the file called comment. If I take a look, let's take a look at tag. It's very similar. If you look at the tag, tag is very simple, almost the same. And the tag basically have a avatar name, VSID comments, and that's it. And then there's an index. The index basically, in fact, I provide the code for the tag.h for the dumpj, so you know exactly how to use the index. The index is essentially what is the number of character that this particular tag is applied to, okay? And so that's, if you have an index and you say avatar name VSID means that I'm actually tagging a person in that comment. If you actually tagging, you can actually potentially tagging another string for that as well. But the same thing is it has a dumpj, has a jdump, exactly the same interface, okay? Any question before I just want to make sure that you follow so far? Okay, so I'm actually going to what you haven't seen. You already seen comment and reaction. Okay, let me actually show you the tag. Let me show you the comment.cpp looks like. So if the comment.cpp, what I did is I actually already give you the constructor, because I know constructor, my experience is that student didn't initialize things correctly. It will create a lot of non-trivial error. So I particularly provide the constructor, but more importantly that this two line, you must provide this two line here, because I mentioned on Monday, some platform, if you don't initialize, it's going to be null. But some platforms such as Ubuntu, you have to say null, otherwise a random value, and it could have problem if you base on that assumption. Okay, and then you have this piece of code, which is dumpj. I'm assuming you will be using your code from homework assignment number 4, part 3. Okay, you're going to shuffle your code here, and then you're going to implement this new piece of code called jdump, okay, to do the other way. That's your job. And if you look at the tag, I did the tag a little bit more because I think tag is unfamiliar to you. So in fact, in tag, I actually provide the dumpj code for you. I'm going to telling you how to interpret, to do dumpj with index and avatar name VSID or comment, okay? And of course, you need to do the jdump that follow this logic as well. Okay, so you can take a look at how many .h file we have. We have about 10 different .h file. You already know comment and the reaction, all right? And I believe you already done person as well. The person .h, you have that dumpj function. Core doesn't have a dumpj, and message doesn't have a dumpj. Okay, these two are the exception. And I think TV time might not have dumpj as well. Okay, the rest is action, link, and the post. The rest are all trivial. The most complete one is a post, because post is one that's actually going to hook all the pieces together. So let's actually take a look at post. This is probably the first time you actually look at the post. So the posts actually include almost everything, okay, from the core, from the tag, comment, reaction, message, person. And this is the post looks like. If you look at the information, it's not that complicated. It's a profile ID, post ID, has a person who's an author, and has a receiver, which is a vector of person. So we use vector a lot. And then a post has a vector of reaction. You already see that, a vector of comments. And then it has a vector of links, because sometimes people like to share a bunch of video link. That's what basically link is trying to represent. And action is, I said, you can say you like it or you want to make a comment. That's the, and then you have JV time for created time and update time. And then you have a Boolean value, say whether this post has been published or not. And then for the rest of the function, it's actually very simple. It's just the post, the constructor, and it's a dumpj and jdump. That's it, okay? And just, this is something which you don't need to worry about right now, but I do have, for homework 5, I do have a lot of error code. I want to tell you that this is not going to be useful for your homework assignment number 5, but it will be using for homework assignment number 6, when you're actually sending the JSON to the server to do some kind of interaction. And then when we parse the JSON, we actually have to see that whether the the result or whatever is correct. If there is any corruption, instead of for you to see the RC code, like RC is equal to -4, -5, now you know those code represent. Those code represent each of the error condition that the server check and decide whether that's actually what's happening. So we have about more than 20 different error code that we can actually respond to that. Okay. All right, so that is the class. So we give you all the class that you can actually just take a look and understand. But how do I actually put the whole things together? And I actually provide 3 CPP functions. 2 of them already completed. You don't need to write a single line of code to do this. And the other one is hw5 merge.cpp, which I'm going to talk about on Friday. But I'm actually going to talk about hw5 produce. So before I do that, let me take 30 seconds to talk about hw5 parse.cpp, which is mentioned in the homework assignment number 5. I actually say, if you look at here, is that to validate this part, to validate the equivalence, you can download the program hw5 parse. And I put the file in the hw5 folder, but I also include it in the tar file as well. Okay, so this is how you can compile. So let's just take a look at the hw5 parse, which some of you probably already know this code. Okay, so this is the code for hw5 parse. Essentially what it does is taking an input file, and then it will produce another JSON file. So essentially what we did is we take a file, and this file will contain a JSON. The file is, for example, base input.json I showed you earlier is a JSON file. So we're not taking it directly from the string, from the input argument. We're actually taking from a file. So that's why I use the file name, use fopen on argv1, which is the argument that you actually provide the file name. So I try to open the file. The file is called JF. And then I'm using this piece of code to actually reading the file. Okay, this part is I should do that. From here to here is essentially we're reading this file into this memory buffer. And this memory buffer is called JFPTR. You see that here is what let me go a little bit slow. This 2 line, let me actually do this. It's probably easier for you to see the comment in code. So the first 2 line is just open the file. And then this part, I'm actually trying to calculate the size of the file, how big the file is. Because why I need to do that? Because after I obtain the file size, I can actually allocate the memory, right? I can actually allocate the memory for the same file. So that's why at the end of the program is L size. L size is essentially the file size. I'm going to do malloc. So I actually malloc enough memory to host the JSON. I'm going to read it from the file. So you can see that I'm doing file processing in this hw5 parse. And just tell you that I also have a function called rewind. If you actually done some of your programming in the my break and my heal for homework assignment number 1, that's a similar function. You're using fseek, rewind, and fread. Okay. And after I actually done the malloc, I allocate the memory. And this part of the code is just reading that into. So I'm actually taking the JF, which I opened earlier, and then I copy L size, which is the size of the byte, into this JF pointer, which represents the memory region. I just allocate. Okay, so this basically just check whether this file is reading correctly. If L result is not equal to L size, you know there's something wrong. Then you should just send the error code, say, hey, there was something bad happen. Okay, so this part, up to this point, we already have the JSON stored in the file. We load it in to our memory that pointing by the pointer of JFPTR. And then this part, I think some of you probably already seen that, familiar with this. This is just parsing your JSON, okay? It's just parsing your JSON to create this view. You should be familiar with when you work on homework assignment number 3. It's just basically doing this reparse and whatever at the end of the function up here, sorry, at the end of this place here is that, okay, you actually have this my v message. Okay, my v message now is you actually convert from the JSON string from the file originally into the memory string as a long string, and then you use this piece of code, which you actually already use in homework assignment number 3, to convert that string into the JSON object. And that JSON object is called my v underscore message. Okay, it's actually defined here, my v message. Okay, that's what parse is doing. I'm just basically parsing this to make sure that this is okay. And at the end, I just do to style string to print it out again and make sure that everything is okay. So this one is really just telling us whether your JSON is a good format, whether you have the right double quote, and whether you miss a comma or something like that. And this program will check it for you, okay? All right, so I want to use the rest of the time, just talk about hw5 produce. hw5 produce is very similar to hw5 parse. By the way, this code is also included in your the tar file. It's very similar. If you look at the first part, everything is similar, except I actually create a pointer, which I will tell you later. But this part, you see, I'm open the file. Again, I'm just doing the file open, allocate memory. Okay, it's exactly the same. And then I'm actually just basically parse the JSON. Okay, this part is exactly the same. I actually take the file into the memory string, and then I obtain a JSON value object called my v message. So this part is the same. Now here is a new one. This part is a new one. For my homework 5 produce .cp. By the way, for this program, you don't need to change it. You can use it as it is if you implement dumpj and jdump correctly. So let's take a look at what the program is doing. The number one, I'm just creating a post. I create a C++ object called post. Sorry, I create a C++ post object called my post. Okay, that's actually being, the constructor was defined in post.h and post.cpp. In the directory, remember, we have post.cpp and post.h. Okay, it's defined there, is not completely done, but it has most part except some of the dumpj and the jdump. Okay. All right. So after you've done this, I actually do. This is the code. This piece of code should be removed. Just to let you know, I put it there. Just want to reinforce your understanding about why B0 sometimes cause problem. Okay. So I want you to check. You're going to remove it yourself. Otherwise, your code won't work if you insist to have that line there. Okay. That's a coaching moment for me. All right. So now you see what I did. I take this, my post object, then what I call my post dot jdump. Okay, my post dot jdump. And what's the input argument? Remember, what is jdump? Let's look at post.h. So post.h here says jdump is taking a JSON value object pointer and return a Boolean value. And therefore, I'm actually creating a Boolean value called result flag is equal to my post.jdump, and put that JSON value object I just create, which is my v underscore message, which is actually already get it from the input JSON string, and put an and sign, means that it's a reference, it's an address of that, which is matching with this one, which is a pointer. So I just call this one. So after I've done this, essentially the content in that JSON string has been slot by slot, pigeonhole by pigeonhole, go into my post, this object, my post, that's actually following the post. So everything has been automatically, I mean, of course, there is a recursive because JDump in post is going to call JDump comment. JDump in post is going to JDump tag. Okay, it's going to be layer by layer recursively, just like the way you implement dump J. So after you've done this, that the JDump is basically convert that to the C++, and then this is the final things we're doing here. That if the result flag is equal to true, means that you successfully did the conversion. Then what I did is I just basically take the my post and I do a dump J. So now I do it the other way. So why I'm doing last step is if my conversion is correct, means I take the file to the string and to the my post. If this conversion is correct, then when I do my post.dumpj, I revert it back to the JSON and print it as a string. This two should be identical. That's why I'm actually talking about this in part one. I said if you do this kind of thing, there should be no difference between the input and the output. It should be the same. The diff should be nothing. Okay, so that's basically, if you think about that, homework assignment number 5, part 2, sorry, part 1, I'm not talking about part 2 yet. Part 1 is essentially just you take a JSON to take the journey from the file to memory as a string and to the C++ object, and then convert it back to JSON value object, and then you print it out using to style string. And after you did this whole conversion, the input and the output should be the same. Then you know your conversion is probably correct. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. Any question before I stop recording and answer any further question? Wow, it's all silence. My experience is, I don't believe I have been crystally clear. So there must be a lot of question, or you're completely lost about what I said. Yeah, go ahead.
So a stupid question. What's the tag again? Because I kind of lost my attention over that
No
part.
problem. I didn't talk too much about tag. So let's actually take a look at what the tag is in the original message. Wait a minute. Do I even have tag in this? I'm sorry. For this message, there's no tag. For this message, the base input JSON, there is no tag. For base input message, there is no tag, but there is a tag over here. Let me actually tell you which one has tag. But for this is really for the merge part, okay? Let's go back here. If you, let me do a grab tag star.json. I believe, yeah, it's in update input 1 JSON. Okay, let's take a look at what is update input 1 JSON. This is really for the part 2. Yeah. So, oh, I didn't share the screen. Okay, I'm so happy. Just do this without realize. Nobody can see this. Okay. So okay, what I did earlier. This is on the server on the hw5 folder. If I do a grab tag, there is a one JSON, which is update 1 input, and then there is another one called merged base update 1. So essentially what I did is, this is the update, and I merged the base JSON and the update 1 together. So the base JSON doesn't have a tag, but the update 1 does have a tag. So let's actually take a look what that is, okay? So this is the update 1. You can see that there is somebody actually add some reaction to the post. And also somebody actually make a message. This is a comment. Actually, somebody add a comment. Somebody actually add a comment, and then take a look at this part. This is the way it works for tag. The message says, Peter, #1, because this is the notation for tag in our design. So if you see this #1, that means that is not just represent the name Peter, but that's actually referring to a particular tag I want to tag. And therefore, you can see the text here says index is equal to 1. So this one is correspond to this one here. And then avatar name Peter VSID. So I'm actually tagging that particular person. And also, there is, I told you to switch to concast. And the concast is another tag, which is a tag number 2. And therefore, I have another tag, which is, this is a tag number 2, index is equal to 2. And the comment is essentially a comment ID that related to the concast. That concast is related to another comment, and which I include the comment ID, which is the page ID, post ID, and comment ID. Okay, so that's the representation using JSON about tagging information when you write a comment. So the tag.h and tag.cpp. So one of the things I provide is I provide the JDUM, sorry, the DUMJ for tag.cpp. So the tag.cpp, you only need to worry about JDUM, but not DUMJ. Okay. Okay, that's a good question, Frank. Yeah, but I will cover the merge on Friday.
Is tag like a label for each comment?
Yes, it's a label. Well, for example, I don't know if you're familiar with Facebook or other social media system. When you say something, you can put an @ right? About, oh, I'm actually want to tag a person. I mean, some of you tag me in the class webpage. But by the way, I hardly ever have time to visit the Facebook. I hope that you guys have fun there. But over there, you can actually tag me, right, as a Facebook user there as well. So that's a similar concept. So tag is essentially when you write a text, but you provide some hyperlink to some other resources. So people will be able to follow that tag to look for something, or the people who are actually being tagged by you will be notified by the system. So that's what we call the tagging.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Frank. Any other question? Okay, I'm going to stop recording and then see if you have an individual question.